my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it now. Can see it, yeah.
Okay. So let me first introduce myself. My name is Brian Kipkoech. I'm here in Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm a machine learning engineer and a data scientist. Having just finished a 3-month contract with a flower company, being the business analyst. So just quickly, I'll introduce myself through this GitHub README. So I am a passionate data scientist and machine learning expert who is inspired by technology's capacity to resolve complex issues. And some of the skills that I have are statistics, data science, machine learning, computer vision, and so forth. I started into the field of data science. I started that in 2018 in my first year, and I graduated last year with a degree in economics and statistics. So I have about 5 years of experience dealing with data. I am also a certified solutions architect associate through the Azubi scholarship, and I have also done multiple Udacity nano degree programs, including their machine learning engineer nano degree. So without further ado, that's just a simple introduction of myself. Maybe it's wise I also share my GitHub account link. You can get there. So I'll share that with you. So let's just continue. Then I'll share the link with you. Okay. So I'm recording, I'm taking you through this at home, so there will be some distractions here and there, but don't worry, just bear with me. So AWS machine learning, we are going to understand how AWS will enable you to go on with your machine learning tasks. So there are multiple AWS machine learning services. We have Amazon Textract, we have Amazon Recognition, we have Amazon Poly, and they all have one thing in common. It's just machine learning as a service where you just provide your data and Amazon handles the rest. For example, with Amazon Forecast, you just provide your time series data and Amazon predicts or gives you the forecast into the future. You don't have to write the codes. So but what if you, in your company, you have a custom problem that you want to solve and you've hired a team of machine learning engineers and data scientists who will be creating the codes for you and solving the solution. So Amazon has a service for that, and it's called SageMaker. So we are going to be introducing SageMaker and then running through some samples and creating some codes together. So let's continue. So what is Amazon SageMaker? Amazon SageMaker is a service that enables you to build, train, deploy, and manage machine learning models. So it has the ability to expedite and simplify the entire machine learning development process, and it makes it very important for data scientists and machine learning engineers. So that's a simple introduction of what Amazon SageMaker is. So let's see why it's important for data science and machine learning. So why is Amazon SageMaker important? One is its ease of use. Through the SageMaker Studio, it provides an easy-to-use interface with pre-configured Jupyter notebooks for machine learning development. And depending on the image that you select, it comes with already pre-installed modules and libraries, such as Pandas and NumPy, that you can already use without having to install them afresh. The second importance of using Amazon SageMaker is its accelerated development. So SageMaker includes a variety of built-in algorithms such as linear regression, XGBoost, and K-means for quick experimentation. So you won't have to create an XGBoost algorithm, classifier, or regressor, for example. when you already have one there. You just need to customize it a bit and experiment with it before you can come up with your own custom models. So there are already existing models in AWS that you can use before you can even think of creating your own custom models. The third reason is data preparation. So there's a service in SageMaker called Data Wrangler that you can remove missing values and perform feature engineering and all those data preparation tasks um, without writing any code. So it's called Data Wrangler. That's the first service that we will be going through practically together after this introduction. So we will see how that works. So also for model training and tuning, SageMaker training jobs can enable you to train an algorithm. And then with endpoints, you can be able to enable users to interact with your model. So model deployment, you'll use the SageMaker endpoints, and it's like an API where a user can interact with your model. A user sends in data to your model, and then your model sends the reply to the user or sends the predictions to the user. So we'll also go through that in a moment. The other importance of using Amazon SageMaker is that it provides you monitoring and management tool that is the SageMaker Model Monitor, which allows you to detect data drift and model degradation. So we'll also see that. Security and compliance. SageMaker integrates with AWS IAM to control access to resources, and it supports encryption and audit logging for compliance. So we also have customization, where SageMaker allows you to bring your own custom algorithms and models by creating custom SageMaker containers, which can be run with SageMaker for your specific needs. So let's say the models that are already provided by AWS, you feel like they are not enough, and you want to come up with your own implementation. Let's say you want to run TensorFlow code or scikit-learn code that you've already created, then you can also create the custom algorithms and containerize it and just upload it to ECR, and it can be used by SageMaker. We'll also be seeing how a training job interacts with those containers as well. So today, we are going to be going through a simple example where we will collect our data, it's a CSV file, pre-process it, and create a simple machine learning model with it. So, but I first want us to distinguish between what data science is and what machine learning engineering is. So the two fields usually have some they usually there's some overlap between the two fields. You can find a machine learning engineer performing some tasks that are well known for a data scientist and so forth. But typically, a data scientist focuses on extracting insights from data, while a machine learning engineer involves developing and deploying machine learning models. So the process of data collection, data preprocessing, model selection, model evaluation, and hyperparameter tuning, those are usually more related with a data scientist. And model deployment and automating machine learning workflows, and also checking the model bias, that is usually related to a machine learning engineer. So with this infographic, I took it from Project Pro. You can check their website. We'll be going through these processes: data collection, data preprocessing, model selection, model evaluation, and finally, we'll create a model deployment workflow. So without further ado, let's begin. So I hope we are still together up to that point.
Yes,
Someone
yes.
please unmute. So I'm going to hide, and so that I can be able to concentrate more. Okay. So I already have my AWS
Hey,
account. I've logged into it.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Joseph here.
Thanks for the
Yes?
presentation. Thanks for the
Yes.
presentation. Can you share an example of a model just for my own understanding, since I'm not dealing with either machine learning or data scientist? Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to illustrate what a model is in a few. We are going to go through a practical example of SageMaker, and we'll explain what a machine learning model is and what it tries to do in our specific example. So just a minute and we'll be there. So I already have my AWS account logged into it. It's a free tier account. You can also create one. So when you want to access SageMaker, you can go to services and search SageMaker. That's what we are going to be using today. So the first option is your Amazon SageMaker. Just click on it and give it some time. So the most important thing when you create a SageMaker account for the first time is that you have to create a domain. So a domain is it includes an associated EFS volume. You've already done that. So for shared for file sharing and file storage, it also has a list of authorized users and a variety of security, application, policy, and VPC configurations. So you'll have to provide all that before you can be able to use SageMaker by creating a domain. So to create a domain, you just go to domains and click on create domain. So the first one is quick setup. You just use the defaults. It will provide an IAM role and all these listed functionalities, a new IAM role with Amazon SageMaker full access policy, a public internet access and standard encryption, SageMaker Studio integration, a shareable SageMaker Studio notebooks, SageMaker Canvas, and IAM authentication. This is what you are going to use. But when you have multiple users and you are using it for development, not for experimentation, you would like to make it more streamlined and more fine-grained using this second option. So to set up a domain, you just click setup and you'll have your domain going. Okay, so before we start on SageMaker, we have to understand what machine learning is in general and how it's important for organizations. So machine learning is the use of data. It's the use of data to instruct computers to learn a specific pattern and predict what has not happened. Maybe if you have data on housing prediction, let's say Boston house prediction, and you want to understand how certain features affect the price of a house. So you can use a machine learning model and some features to predict the house prices of a certain place. So it's a field of IT where you instruct computers to learn patterns without explicitly programming it. So um, so that's one example. Another example is, let's say you have time series data for the past 5 years up to date, and you would like to know what will happen in future. You can use also a machine learning algorithm to predict and forecast future events using data that you've already collected. So a model it's like a set of instructions that can enable you to predict or forecast future data values. So it is really important it is really important for an organization to be able to understand what's going to happen so that they can make better decisions. So I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah. So that means you have to write in a model. That means there are a set of instructions and algorithms that help predict probably the probability of something happening. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Actually, in the field of machine learning, it uses mathematics statistics and linear algebra to come up with predictions. So it
Okay.
predicts the probability of an event occurring based on some data that you've provided.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, so now that we have our domain, I'll just go back to domains. I already had a working domain here. So I had already created a domain and it already has a user. So the first service that you are going to try to simulate through is SageMaker Studio. So machine learning engineers and data scientists need to use an IDE. That's just like software engineers need to use something like VS Code to write their codes. The same thing happens to machine learning engineers and data scientists. They need a certain service that enables them to write the codes, the machine learning codes. So the most popular one is Jupyter Notebook, and AWS has provided a solution as well for that, which is the SageMaker Studio. You can be able to write your code in AWS using the SageMaker Studio, which is just Jupyter Notebook. So let's click on Studio and see. Okay, so when you click on Studio, it is going to require you to select a domain. So I'm going to select this domain here that I've been using. This is the one that we created right now. It does not have any user, but the one that I had already created before has a default user already in there. So I'll use that one and click on Open Studio. So it's going to provision a Jupyter Lab, and then we can create a Jupyter Notebook and write our codes there, our machine learning codes there. So let's give it some time. So, okay, so this is the Amazon SageMaker Studio. You can be able to, you can launch notebooks, you can prepare your data visually, you can use other services that will enable you to perform data preprocessing without writing any codes. That's what we talked about earlier, the SageMaker Data Wrangler. We also have the SageMaker Feature Store that enables you to share features. We'll be going through that in a few. So this is the homepage for the SageMaker Studio. You can launch notebooks. You can also use a service called SageMaker Jumpstart, where it has pre-trained models and notebooks where you can go through them and learn how machine learning works. So this is its homepage. First of all, we have the homepage, which is where we are already selected. And when you go to data, there's this tab here called data. You can get some data preprocessing services offered by SageMaker. The first one is Data Wrangler, which enables you to aggregate and prepare data. The second one is Feature Store, which enables you to store and share features. So what are features? Let's say you have data. We'll be going through this example. We will be having two types of variables. We have the ones that are used to train the model and the ones that is the target variable. So we'll be understanding those terms in a few, and then we'll continue. We also have clusters, which enables you to compute when you have large data sets and you cannot just load it direct to your memory, you can perform batch processing, and clusters will be very important for that. So let's go through what a data wrangler is in a minute. The second one is AutoML. This is where automatic machine learning. This is where you train your model using already fine-tuned hyperparameters, and everything is already set for you. So you don't have to perform hyperparameter tuning and all that. Everything will be done for you. So we'll be seeing how that is done in a minute. Okay. The second thing is this icon here, which is the file browser. When you click on it, you can add folders into this notebook environment. You can upload files as well. Just click here and you can upload files from your local environment. You can also refresh and you can source your files from GitHub, which is what you are going to do. So let's say you want to create a new notebook in your SageMaker Studio environment. You'll first have to create a launcher if it is not here by default. So click on this part called New Launcher, and it is going to open a launcher where you can create a notebook. Just click on create notebook here. By default, it is going to have this image, a data science 3.0 image. So it, under the hood, there is an EC2 instance running. So you need to create an image, and it has to have a kernel, which in this case is Python 3. And the instance by default will be MLT3 medium. I'm sure you've gone through this in your when you are learning about EC2 or in your practice. So let's click on create notebook. So it's going to initialize the notebook, and once it's done, you're going to see the running instances here, and it's going to populate the common data science libraries such as pandas, numpy, matplotlib, all those modules that are very important in your data science and machine learning preparation are going to be populated automatically because you selected a data science image. So we are going to give it some time, but as we wait, there is already a running instance that I had created earlier. So I'm going to go there. So as this one creates, I would like to welcome questions as we wait. Any questions so far?
Brian,
Yes.
I saw someone who asked, like they don't understand what a model is. I don't know if you can
Yeah.
maybe clarify on that. So people are just studying.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to consult with Google so that I can provide a better explanation. So let's search machine learning model. And understand, someone might have explained it better than I did. Yeah. So this is a site called Databricks. So we are going to see what it says. What is a machine learning model? So a machine learning model is a program that can find patterns or make decisions from previously unseen data. So it can find patterns from data and make predictions and decisions from previously unseen data. For example, in natural language processing, machine learning models can parse and correctly recognize the intent behind previously unheard sentences or combination of words. In image recognition, a machine learning model can be taught to recognize objects such as cars or dogs. A machine learning model can perform such tasks by having it trained with a large data set. And during training, the machine learning algorithm is optimized to find certain patterns or output from the data set, depending on the task. The output of this process, often a computer program with specific rules and data structures, is called a machine learning model. So you can have a lot of pictures containing cats and dogs, and then train a computer vision algorithm that can be able to distinguish between a new photo that you've taken and decide whether that photo that you are trying to pass through the model is a dog or a cat. So first you train it with thousands upon thousands of images containing both cats and dogs until the model learns the features of a cat and the features of a dog. And then when you pass new photos, it can be able to determine whether that photo is a dog or a cat. So that is an example of a model. I hope I've explained it well. Someone please, have you understood?
Thank you, Brian. I hope they understood. I hope it helped.
Okay. So we have the notebook created. So just like VS Code, if you've interacted with Visual Studio Code and written some codes there, Jupyter Notebook is the same. It enables you to write some Python codes. In this case, it's going to be Python codes because we initialized it with a Python 3 kernel. And as we said, it already has the important machine learning libraries installed for us, and we can try to import them and see. So we can import popular data science library called pandas. We can also import NumPy. And then when we run, it is going to work just normally. And we did not install it because it came pre-installed. So we are not going to write the codes from scratch. I just wanted you to know how you can open SageMaker and then create a new notebook. But for cases of codes that are already written, machine learning codes, we are going to clone it from my GitHub repository. So I'm going to go to this fourth option here. That has a sign of a Git. Click on it, and then click on clone a repository. So we will have to paste the URL here, and then when we clone it, it is going to bring the whole data set. So I'll go to my GitHub account here. And then we'll be going through a binary classification example for expenditure churn. So we are going to see whether it was churned or not. So let's see the data set. I will not explain it that much. We'll just go through the data set. Okay. First of all, let me get the link and clone it to my Jupyter Notebook environment. So I go to code and copy that link there, paste it here, and select that and click clone. So it is going to open this, it is going to import everything from my GitHub back to this specific environment. So let's go through the data set first by double clicking on it. Okay. Since it's an Excel file, it's not going to open. So let's just go through the code and we will see the data set there. So when we open the code, it is going to prompt us to create the environment, create the image, select a kernel and the instance type so that we can be able to, just like we did earlier when we were creating a new notebook, we had to create a data science 3.0 image. So we are going to use that as well. And by default, it is going to populate Python 3, but you can select whatever you wish. So if you had included a different kernel, let's say data science 2.0, it would have given you more options on the kernel. We are also going to go with the default MLT3 medium instance. So let's click select and give it time to create that. So it's already created the instance, the data science 3.0 image with the Python 3 kernel. And to confirm that, you can see here, there are two instances running. The one that we created for the empty notebook that we were experimenting with, and this new one that contains the binary classification example. So in this case, we are trying to predict whether whether there was a churn or not. So let's see what we mean by that. So The churn rate. So let's see what Investopedia explains about churn rate. It is also known as the rate of attrition or customer churn. It is the rate at which customers stop do business with an entity. So we want to know if they stop doing business with the company or if they don't. So it is most commonly expressed as the percentage of service subscribers who discontinue their subscriptions within a given time period. So with this expenditure churn, it is either yes, the person stopped doing business, or no, the person continued doing business with the company. So um, so in your data science journey, the first step that you have to do is to get the data. So that's what we do here. We load the data to this particular notebook, and then after loading the data, you have to make sure that there are no missing values. That is the process called data pre-processing. You also have to make sure that the data is, the categorical columns are encoded. So for example, the churn rate, which was yes and no, have to have numerical encodings for it to work with machine learning, which is 0 and 1, 0 for yes and 1 for no. And then you can now feed your model to feed your data to a machine learning model. So that's the first step that we have done here. We've imported the data, and we can see the columns. We have age, gender, marital status, and so forth. And what we are trying to predict is this last one. It's called churn. So we are then going to create a model that tries to predict it, and we get a pretty good model using SageMaker that is 99.7% accurate. So we will not be going through how we created it, but I just wanted you to see how you can create a pretty good model with SageMaker, SageMaker Studio. So and it really works well. It predicts whether the churn happened or not without, it is correct 99.7% of the time. So that's an example of an end-to-end machine learning process where you get to import your data, clean it, and then train a model with it. So the reason why I'm not going to go through all this code is because we might not understand what's going on. So I just wanted you to see that you can run your machine learning solutions on SageMaker Studio. Okay. So there was a service we talked about when we were starting called Data Wrangler. So it is better for us to perform data preprocessing using Data Wrangler because there are no codes written and it is more beginner friendly. So to access it, we'll go back to home and click on Data Wrangler. So first, we already have a flow. So I'm going to click on it. Let's give it time to load. Okay, so let's give it some time to load. Okay, so Data Wrangler enables you to perform aggregation and data preparation. And it can work with a lot of other AWS services. It can load data from S3, it can load data from Athena, and multiple other services. As it's been written here, 40 other sources. So if you have your file, let's say the expenditure churn data in S3, you can load it to the Data Wrangler service, and then it can be able to visualize the data for you. It can also be able to show you any inconsistencies in your data, such as Are there any outliers? It can also create plots such as scatter plots, histograms, and so forth. So we are going to use it to perform some basic data analysis so that we can understand how you can go about data preparation without writing even a single Python code. So as we wait on that, we can still go through this particular diagram. So the first step in data science or in your data analysis task is you have to collect the data that you'll be using. So you can have the data in a database such as Postgres, or it can just be some Excel files or CSV files. So it doesn't really matter. You just need the data to be there. The next step is data preprocessing and analysis. So in this second step, you'll be able to see and make sure that your data is consistent with what the model will need. So models don't work with missing values. They also don't work with text or words. So if you have any category that contains text, you have to encode it. For example, as we said, yes and no can be encoded to 0 and 1. We can have a column containing regions. You'll encode it to, let's say you have France, Germany, and UK. So you can encode that to 001 for Germany, 010 for France, and 100 for UK. Once you've made sure that there are no missing values and you've encoded categorical columns, the next step is to select the model that you'll use and train the model. So to train the model, you'll need some data to train it, and you'll also need to evaluate your model using some data. So you'll need to split your data into training and test set. So the training set is what you'll use to train your model, and test set is what you'll use to evaluate your model. After model evaluation, you're going to select the best parameters to tune your model and make it perform better. So that is the hyperparameter tuning step. After you evaluate your model and seeing how it performs, you will then tune your parameter and make sure that the accuracy has improved. Once you are done with model evaluation, then you have to deploy your model. So SageMaker enables you to also deploy your model by using SageMaker endpoints. Once you've deployed your model, the end user can be able to interact with it. So a user can just populate their data there, and then it can be able to predict whether the customer is going to be churned or not. Or if it's the cats and dogs example, a user can just post an image of their cat or dog, and your model will be able to predict whether it's a cat or a dog. So for you to be able to use the model, you'll have to deploy it through a SageMaker endpoint. So we'll also just go through a simple example after we are done with what we are trying to load. So those are generally the steps. You collect the data, you make sure the data is in a form that can be used by the algorithm, and then you train your model, evaluate it, and deploy it. So here we have a data wrangler. The only thing you need to do to come to this step is to click on data wrangler, and it will bring you to this specific step that we are right now. The first step is to import the data. So as we've seen, it works with a lot of machine AWS services such as S3, Athena, and so forth. So just click import data, and it's going to prompt you to create a connection. You have to select one of the following data sources. You can select S3, Athena, Redshift, Snowflake, and EMR. So prior to this, I had already created an S3 bucket and uploaded my data there. So I'm going to open the bucket so that you can see. So I have this expenditure churn data. and inside it there is a CSV file that I want to load to the data wrangler that we just used. So I'm going back here and select Amazon S3 because that's where my data is. So select it, and I have all these buckets. What I want to use is this first one, expenditure churn data. Double click on it. Okay, so my computer may hang. Just double click on it, yes, and it's going to open that particular bucket, and you can access objects inside the bucket. So we only have one object called aims and process data, which is the data that you're going to use. So just click on it, check on this box here, and an option to import will occur. So first you're going to have some basic information about it, which is, we're not going to use that much. We already seen that we have 50,000 data points inside it. It is CSV, so it's comma separated and so forth. Just click import, and you'll have your data in the data wrangler service, SageMaker service. So it's going to take some time to load it. Okay, so now it's loaded, and it shows you the steps. The first step was to get the data from S3, and the second step, it shows you the data types. So these are the columns. We have lot front edge, lot area, neighborhood, and so forth, and it shows you the types. So for example, MS zoning is a string, so you'll have to make sure that you've turned it from text to numbers, because your model, a machine learning model does not work with string data set or data that is not numerical in nature. So that is the second step. I would like us to add another step where we encode the categorical columns and make it numerical for use by our model. So we come to this step, add step. There's this functionality here called add step. Just click on it, and a lot of options will come up. You can create a custom formula, you can create a custom transformation, but what we want is down here, encode categorical. And it's explaining that you can convert categorical variables to numeric or vector representations, because that's what machine learning models require. So just click on it. We have ordinal encode, but one popular encoding method that most people usually use is one hot encode. So we'll just click this drop down and select one hot encode. So we won't be going through what this is because of the limited time that we have, but that is the one that we'll be using. It provides the best results. And after we select how we want to transform the data, we are going to select the column that we want to apply the transformation on. So we click on this drop down, and we will have all these columns. So we want to look for columns with string, because we want to encode them from being string to numerical. So let's say we select neighborhood. We can also select another one like paved drive, and there we have it. We want to change these two columns from being represented as categories that are text in nature to being represented as numbers, or in a numerical manner. Once we are done with that, we will not check any other thing. We will just leave everything as default. So if we don't provide the output column, it is going to overwrite the existing neighborhood column and provide the new encodings in that specific column. So the neighborhood column will no longer be text, it will now turn into numerical. So once we are done with this, we click add to add the step. And once we've added this, when you click on it, we're going to see a summary of what happened. So when we go back to data types and we click that, we will have to refresh to see whether it's changed, but we'll look at that in a minute. So once we are done with one hot encode, we can add other steps, such as We can scale our data. We can featureize date and time. Let's say we want to extract hour, day, and month from our data. We can do that here. We can also filter our data by column values. We can group our data and so forth. But we are not going to do that. So let's just clear those and look at the data that we have. So when we go to data, the steps will appear on your right. The first step was to get the source. The second step was to the data types we were shown, and we were shown the data types, whether they are string, they are integers, or they are floats, and then we performed the one-hot encoding for neighborhood and the other variable. So when we go to neighborhood now, we are going to see that it's no longer strings, but rather an encoding of numbers. So we have 110, 10, 10, and so forth. So we have already encoded. It is no longer like this. You can see here there are categories which are in text. So if we want to sort these out, we'll do the same. We'll add a step, one-hot encoding, and sort these particular column to be integer rather than text for it to be used by our model. But for the neighborhood, we've seen that it's now working. So the next step we can use to for the data wrangler is to perform basic data analysis. So we can create descriptive statistics such as the mean, median, and mode. We can also create some visualizations such as the scatter plot and histograms. So we go there, click on analysis. By default, there is histogram, but I want us to create just a simple descriptive statistics table. So that's what we call a table summary. So once you click on analysis, the analysis type there is a drop down. When you click on the drop down, there are a lot of things you can do. One is to click on table summary. So click on it and you can give it a name. Let's say summary statistics, and click run. Just give it some time and you will get summary statistics. We see that we have 1,460 instances. The mean is provided, the standard deviation is provided, the minimum value and the maximum value. So these are simple statistical summary statistics. For this column, since it contains text, you cannot have a mean over text or a standard deviation for a text. That's why it's written none, and so forth. So that's how you create summary statistics using Data Wrangler. We can also create multiple other analysis tools. Let's say we want to create a scatter plot. So you just come back to analysis type, click on this drop down, and look for scatter plot, which is here. Once you click scatter plot, you can give it a name, scatter plot. Your x-axis, you have to select the x-axis. If we know what a scatter plot is, you're trying to compare two variables that are continuous in nature. Let's say you want to compare height and weight. You'll use a scatter plot in that case. So let's use one variable that is numerical in nature, such as this one, and the sell price. We can add a lot of other features, but we will not in this case. You can color by a column. Let's say we can color by this column here. And once we are satisfied with what we want, just click on run and you will get a scatter plot. That is very interactive as well. So we get this scatter plot here, and the different colors depend on what we have here. You can also interact with it. You can perform, you can zoom it in, you can zoom it out. It's very interactive. It's not perfect, but it's very interactive. So that is how you create the analysis here. In Data Wrangler, you can create virtually anything you want. We could also create a histogram. We could duplicate rows. We could create, we could see a bias report. How is our data? Is it biased in any way? We can also see some multicollinearity. So we'll not be going through all these terms. It's a very short period of time to go through all this and explain what they are, but you get the idea. You can also you can also perform analysis of your time series data as well. So there's a lot you can do with the Data Wrangler. Okay, so once we are done with this and we are satisfied with it, I'm going to click on clear so that I just get rid of all this, and I go back to data. And as we had seen, you can add as many steps as you want. There is a new feature in Data Wrangler called training, where you can immediately after you finish preparing your data, you can run it through a SageMaker model that's already there for you. You don't have to know how it works. You just need to select the right model and train your an algorithm on the data. But the problem is we are not done with data preparation. There are still a lot of issues with our data. There are still missing values. So we won't be exploring how to train our model using the Data Wrangler. So I think that's enough for the Data Wrangler, unless there's a question. Any question up to that point? I hope we are together. I hope tonight we are understanding what's going on.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Thank you. So let me be checking the chat as well. Okay. So back to our particular infograph here. Once you are done with the data preprocessing step, you would want to train your model. So there's a feature in SageMaker called a training job. So that's what we are trying to go through right now. Let's say we already have our data. It is clean and ready. And we want to now train a model. So how do we go about that in SageMaker? So I'm going to introduce a concept called, so let me just share this. So a training job. So SageMaker offers a service where you can be able to train your machine learning model. So what is a training job? A training job is a managed execution of a trained algorithm, where you don't have to worry about the hardware, the operating system, how to transfer data to and from S3, and the maintenance of the training codes. The only thing you have to be responsible for is the configuration of the job. And if you are training a custom algorithm, you have to provide a container containing the codes that you have already trained and an S3 input file containing the data so that the model can train on it. Yes? Someone asked a question? Okay, I think it was by mistake, so we can continue. So the only thing we need to provide for a training job is an input data S3 URL and an output S3 URL, where our model hyperparameters will be saved to for use in our endpoint. We also have to provide an elastic container registry containing the training codes. We also need to provide the compute resources as well as the metadata, such as the version number and the model name. So we are going to do this together right now. Let's go back here. One important step that I don't want to forget this particular environment that you have created is very expensive. Training machine learning models in SageMaker can be quite expensive at a time. And once you are done with everything, you always want to close your instances. So right now we see that there are 3 instances running and we want to close all that. What we do is we click on this particular part written running terminals and kernels. The one with the circle with a square inside, click on it. And then we are going to just shut down everything. So click on this icon that looks like a power button, click on it, and then select shut down all. Make sure you don't leave until all these disappear. So we can refresh again as we give it time. Let me shut it down again. Okay, so we have to make sure that we minimize the cost that we incur while we're experimenting with this particular platform. So since we closed everything, even the data wrangler instance was closed. So I'm going to close it as well. And even this one. Okay. So since I've already selected that option to make sure that all instances shut down, I am sure at some point it's going to be shut down. So let's continue. Let's not waste more time here. So I want us to search SageMaker again and go through the services that we have not covered. So let's search Amazon SageMaker and select the first option that occurs. So we've already understood what a domain is, so we won't need to go through that as well. SageMaker Jumpstart is a service. So let's click on it. It's a service that it already contains pre-trained models that are already working for your own experimentation and practice. So you won't have to, if you want to understand how machine learning works without and checking the codes that enable that and checking how it performs without writing anything, you'll go to SageMaker Jumpstart. So we won't be covering that today. There's this amazing service offered by SageMaker called Ground Truth. It is it enables you to label your data. So let's say you have a certain NLP project where you are trying to predict whether the comment provided by a customer is positive or negative, but it's not labeled, and you would like to label the data. Let's say you have professional labelers or annotators that would like to check if a certain sentiment is positive or negative. You can hire them and then use ground truth for the labeling of those particular tasks. It's very interesting. You should check it out. But for now, we want to check on training a particular model using AWS managed algorithms. So we click on training and we select a training job. So you search for Amazon SageMaker, go straight to training and select training jobs. So I already have a training job running, but we are going to create a new one. So create training job, that option there. So let's go back. Once you open it, there's a particular option here written create training job. So just click on it, give the job a name. Let's say expenditure churn prediction. Now, you need to provide an IAM role. If you had created a domain a domain the other time. So let me just search for SageMaker again so that I can explain what I mean. So if you had created a domain earlier, automatically an IAM execution role was created. So when you are creating a training job here, that particular IAM role will automatically be selected. But if you don't have any role, you can click on this drop down and go to this option written, create a new role. Once you click on it, it is going to have all these defaults where it enables you to access all S3 buckets and so forth. Then just click on create role. Once you create the role, you can select it. But for me, I already had this one running, so I'm going to use it. So you already know what an IAM role is. We will not be going through that. It's beyond the scope of what we are covering today. Once you've selected the role, you're going to select the type of algorithm that you want to use. The first one that's selected by default is the Amazon SageMaker built-in algorithm, where you don't have to train it. It will just be there in an ECR, ready to use. But if you have your own custom algorithm that you have already uploaded it as a container or as a Docker image to ECR, Elastic Container Registry, you can grab it from ECR by selecting this second option. This third option, I mean, your own algorithm container in ECR. You can also have your own algorithm resource, and you can also have an algorithm subscription from AWS Marketplace. But for this simple example that you're going to do, we will select the first option, which is Amazon SageMaker built-in algorithm. So since it's built in, it is going to be, or everything is going to be done by AWS. It's already trained, ready to use. So you choose the algorithm. That's the third step through this particular drop down. In this case, since it's classification problem, we are going to use XGBoost. We'll just use XGBoost to check, try to predict the expenditure churn. And notice something, once you select this XGBoost, a URL is automatically populated here. So this is where the model, the XGBoost model, is contained. It is in an ECR in US East 1. So notice that it's an image. It's containerized, a Docker image containing the model housed in ECR. I hope you already know what ECR is and some concepts about that. We will not be going through it because it's also beyond the scope of what we are covering today. So if we had selected this third option here, we would have to provide a path to our Docker image containing the model. But since it is built in, once we select the algorithm, the path is automatically populated for us. And since it's a file, we have a CSV file in S3 that we want to use to train our model. We are going to leave it as default as a file, but you can have it as a pipe object. We will not be going through that for now. And we have metrics. So how are we going to measure the performance of our model? How are we going to know that it is predicting well or if it is underperforming? So these are the metrics that you're going to use. So for regression tasks, you usually go with RMSE, RMSE, which is root mean squared error, mean absolute error, and so forth. But since in our case it is a classification problem, then we will have to select a different metric. For example, we will have to use accuracy. So we'll see how we'll do that in a minute. We also have to select the resources. In our case, we'll just leave it as default, MLM4X large, and we make it 5 gigabytes of storage. Now, this is going to be a bit expensive, but that's what we need to train. That's the cheapest way we can train a machine learning model here. Then the stopping condition, we are not going to explain what that is, but we'll just let it be 60 seconds because we are just experimenting with this. And we are not going to create any VPC, but if you are working in an organization, you will have to make sure that you provided the right virtual private cloud for you to be able to continue with this particular training, or else you will not have the credentials, or you will not be allowed to train it. Now we come to hyperparameters. This is what we need to fine tune the XGBoost model that we created. So let's make the num rounds to be 20. I will not explain what that is for now, because in this particular class, what we are doing is understand how AWS enables us to perform machine learning, but not entirely the whole process, because that will take a lot of time. The other thing we need to select is an objective. So click that drop down. And since it is a binary classification problem, we are going to select this binary logistic. So just click on it and leave everything as default. So the next step is to select the data that we want to use to train our algorithm. So I have already uploaded the data to S3 as well. So that's a step that I already did before the class. So I'm going to just open it and show you where that. So I have a bucket called expenditure churn machine learning. I click on it. I already have the training data, the test data, and the validation data. So I'm going to load the training data to train our model and the validation data to validate our model. And then we will use the test data set to check if our model, how our model performs on unseen data. So I already have the data here. So I go back to this step, input data configuration. The first one is channel name, which is train. Input mode, it's a file. So make sure that you select it, even if it's optional, select a file. The content type, it's a CSV file. So make sure you write there CSV. It's already been suggested to you here. Choose one of the formats below and leave everything as default. Come to this particular point, the S3 location. You have to select your train data and paste its URL here. So we go back to S3, select our train.csv, check on this, and copy URL. Let's copy that URL and paste it here. Now that was a training channel. We need to add a validation channel by just clicking here, add channel, and change its name to validation. Validation. The input mode is still a file. The content type is CSV. And then we paste its URL as well, containing the validation data. So we check this validation.csv and copy its URL and paste it here as well. So we already have the two channels that we need. That's it. We can add checkpoint configuration if we were training on a large data set and if we were really planning to take this to production, but I will not go through this. I will just go straight to this part, output data configuration. So the hyperparameters that we have already trained and everything that is needed for our model to be deployed will be saved to this output path that we'll provide here. So if we want to host this particular model to be used by end users, we will need to export the model artifacts to S3 so that we can load it and use once we want to make this particular model to be used by the end users. So to do that, I have already created an S3 folder called output. So I'm going to uncheck that and check this part containing this folder called output and copy its URL as well, then paste it here. So when I paste it there, once I am done with training this model, all the artifacts, all the hyperparameters that were used to train it and everything else that the model outputs will be saved here. You can encrypt it if you want. Leave everything else as default. So before we create the training job, let's just quickly run through what we did. We gave the job a name and selected a role that was created once we created the domain. And then we used SageMaker built-in algorithm, the XGBoost, and we loaded our data sets and provided the necessary hyperparameters where we changed only the num rounds and selected an objective function that was relevant to this particular example. And then we added channels that loaded the training and validation datasets. And then we provided a path where the output of our model will be saved. Once we are done, we click on create training job. And it's going to be, the status will be in progress. But once it's done, it is going to be, the status will be completed. So that's how you create a training job to be, so the model is going to be trained and the validation data set will be used to validate our model as well. And then once we are done with the training job, we will want to deploy our model using an endpoint. So that's what we are going to try to do. But in this case, we will not go on with it to the end because I am using a free tier account and I don't want to get my costs to blow up, but I'll just take you through the process. So once we have our model with the job status ready, when the job status has been has turned from in progress to completed, you can click on this particular model that's been created like that, and then use it to create a model. So just click on create model and a model will be created. And how do you check the models that you have? You come to inference and go to models. So in my case, I have one model that's been created, but I can create more. I can click on it and create model. I can give it a name, and the role that will be used is what you use to create the domain and so forth. But I am not going to do that. So I'll go back and we will simulate through the process of deploying our model using SageMaker endpoints. So where you'll get the endpoints is in this tab called inference. Then there's this part written endpoints. So click on it. I don't have any resources. I have not hosted any machine learning model using this account. So I'll just click on create endpoint, give the endpoint a name. I can say expenditure churn demo deployment. You can give it any name, just it does not have to have any hyphens or spaces. You can use an existing endpoint configuration, or you can create a new endpoint configuration. So let's create a new one so that you can see how it's done. We give the endpoint configuration a name. Let's say demo config. It can be provisioned or serverless, but I would like to use a serverless one. So click on serverless. I hope we're still together. Okay. So click on serverless, and you're going to select a production variant. So that is when you click on this create production variant, you're going to have the model that we just created. You remember that step where we used a ready training job to create a model. So that is what you're going to select here and click on save. Once we are done, you click on create endpoint configuration. But I'm not going to create it. So once you are done with that, uh, you will have an endpoint ready to accept user information. And you can use that now you can put the endpoint in your website for users to interact with it. You can use it as much as you want, because once you have the endpoint, the ways of using it is limitless. You can just embed it anywhere you want and people can use it. Okay. Any question up to that point? Any question, any comment? Because we are almost there. We are almost done with what we were to cover today. Just an introduction. Before we go through an example, there's an example I would like us to go through where we have an endpoint that works. Any question? Okay. So we have gone through a lot of concepts today. We have learned how to use the SageMaker Studio to write our codes, our machine learning and data science codes. We've learned how to use the data wrangler to perform simple data preparation. We have also learned how to use the training job to train a model. And we have also seen a very important aspect of SageMaker, that it is easily integratable with other AWS services. You can source your data from S3, you can save your model to ECR and then load it. You can it really works well with other AWS services, which you might not get that particular functionality when you are training everything from your own computer. So that's really a powerful feature, and we've seen how it works. So to finish this up, I will just be going through some particular steps that were done in it's hosted in my GitHub account. It's a project in part of fulfillment of the Udacity machine learning nano degree. So I'm just going to open it. And we'll go through just a simple explanation of what is being done. Just a minute as I locate it. Okay, so just a minute as it loads. Okay, so in this was a project where it was a computer vision example where you are trying to detect whether a certain picture that you have is a bike or a motorbike. And then it was this particular solution was also automated using lambda and step functions. So the machine learning workflows were automated using AWS lambda and step functions, so that it was more streamlined and better. So let's just go straight to where we load it. So in this case, we are not using the AWS console. Rather, what was used was Boto 3, which is the AWS's Python 3 SDK. So we'll go straight to where we are using SageMaker. I just wanted you to see how you can really use these even outside the AWS management console. So all the steps that we were doing when we were creating a training job, you can achieve the same by using the Boto 3 and SageMaker SDK. So in this case, we are accessing the bucket that contains our data. We are accessing a bucket and then saving our training and test data into that particular bucket. Once we have loaded the data there, then we train the model just like we did using the training job. So we access the training data from the S3 and then train our model. Once we've trained the model, we also provide the validation data to validate our data, our model. And then we train our model. This is the training output once our model was being trained, and then we are going to see the model's accuracy. So the model achieved 83.3% accuracy based on the validation data that we provided. Once you're done with that, then we deployed this particular model and also used model monitor to make sure that we track if the model is degrading or if it is still performing as we want. So that is the SageMaker model monitor that enables you to monitor the performance of your model. Once you have all those model monitors, you can then deploy your model using an endpoint. But in this case, everything is in code, so I'm sure it's not that easy to understand. But I just wanted you to look at how you can achieve these using using Python programming language rather than using the management console. So I think this was important as well for you to see and understand. So up to that point, I think I can call it a day unless there is a question. Someone please unmute. Hi, Cynthia. I believe up to that point, we are good, unless there's a question or any concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Cynthia.
Yeah. Is there a question? Okay. Okay, so thank you so much for this insightful and even practical session. So we can
Yes.
move on to the Kahoot, and then maybe if anyone has questions, they can ask after the Kahoot game. So let me share my screen. Okay. Let me share the screen and then, okay. I hope you can all see my screen. So for those who've joined for the first time, we usually have a Kahoot where I don't know. Can you all see my screen though? What is happening?
Yes, we can see everything.
Okay. Okay, classic mode. Right. I can take to the chat. Oh, okay. I can show it from there. Yes. So you can click on that link. Oh, see jumps already. Nice. So if when you click on that link, you need to just enter your name and then you can participate in the Kahoot game. The Kahoot is just there to help you know, let's say for this case, machine learning, how they ask questions in the cloud for the cloud precision exam, how they usually ask questions on machine learning. And also for this Kahoot will be covering the also last session, which was on security and compliance plus machine learning that we just learned. So anyone else to join? Okay, so we should start. Okay. Oh, okay. Hillary also has joined. I can see Ashria. Have you joined? Okay, I think we're good to go. So let's start. So this would also include, so the first question, data sitting on an RDS instance will be referred to as. Okay, two people got it right. So when a data is in RDS, then we say that the data is at rest. But then when data is being transferred from maybe an instance, an RDS instance, RDS, for those who don't know, it's a database to maybe somewhere else. That means we say that data is in transit. Okay, see Hillary. So according to the shared responsibility model, who is responsible for firewall network configuration for EC2 instances? Okay, great. So I see someone said, two people said AWS and the customer, and then two people got it right, customer, yes. So with AWS shared responsibility, so AWS has some responsibilities, and also you as a customer has responsibilities. So as a customer, you'll be responsible for firewall, network configuration, but then AWS will be mainly responsible for infrastructure, anything related to infrastructure configuration. That means that would be like servers, configuration, network configuration for servers, that would be like AWS. But then EC2, since it's a remote server, it would be a responsibility for the customer. Okay, Abraham on the tab. So which of the following services can you use to discover and protect your sensitive data in AWS? Okay, shield. Okay, then we have Messi. Someone got it right, yes. So when you're trying to discover and protect sensitive data, a sensitive data could be maybe your anything that maybe someone else can get of you and can get you in trouble. That could be maybe your PIN, or let's say your card, maybe your card credentials, something like that. So Messi can help you discover that. But then for Shield, it helps you with DDoS attacks, to prevent DDoS attacks. So that's when we use Shield. Okay, Abraham still on the top. So let's go to the next one. Which AWS service lets you quickly find the root of potential security issues to take faster actions? Okay, so detective, someone got it right. So detective is the right one because it will help you find the root cause of potential security issues. With the Spectre, it can help you like find some of the issues or security issues in your like EC2 instance, I believe. But then if you want to know the root cause, you have to use detective. Okay, jumps on the top. So the next one, a company like to protect its web applications from common web exploits, but that may affect availability, security, or consume. So basically, you want to protect your web applications from security issues. So what service can you use? Okay. Okay, two people say it's Shield, but as I said, with Shield, you want to protect your, let's say, servers from DDoS attacks. So how I can define DDoS attacks? So when maybe you have someone trying to attack your server, and then they send many requests to the extent that your server becomes weak, if I can say. So that's what we call DDoS attack. So Shield can help you prevent that. But then when you want to protect your web application from any different web security issues, then you have to use the web application WAF, web application firewall. And then someone said auto-scaling group, but with auto-scaling, it just helps you to scale out or in, depending on how many servers you want at a particular moment. So it's not like really a security thing. So jumps on the top still. So the next one, where can you find an on-demand access to AWS compliance documentations and AWS agreements? Okay, artifacts, yes. So with the artifact service, that's where you can find like AWS compliance documentation and AWS agreements, so that you ensure that you remain compliant to the different compliance available. So someone personal health dashboard is not really related to compliance, so it wouldn't be the case. So let's go to the next one. Gemstone on the top. So you can perform any kind of penetration testing on any AWS service without prior approval. Okay, yes. So the answer is false. So you cannot you cannot perform penetration testing without prior approval, but I just wanted to see customer. I think there are some services that you're allowed to do some penetration testing. If anyone knows anything about that, can maybe unmute and say something on this. But I think there are some services that you can do penetration testing. So an example could Amazon EC2 instance, Amazon CloudFront. But I believe maybe before you do that penetration testing, I welcome security open without all the services. Okay, so yeah, so actually this would be true because there are some services, I'm just reading from AWS documentation. There are some services that you can do penetration testing on without prior approval, and that includes Amazon Aurora, Amazon RDS, Amazon Fargate, EC2 instance. Yeah, there are many of them. So if you go to penetration testing on AWS documentation, you should see all the services that are allowed and then some that are prohibited. So those that are prohibited, you need to ask for approval before doing any penetration testing. Okay, so gems still on the top. So you want to record configurations and changes over time. Which service allows you to do this? Okay, great. I'm happy to see most people got it right. So with AWS config, you can record configuration and changes over time. Yeah, so if you have any configurations, you can record them there and change them over time with AWS config. Okay, Gemstone and Hillary. So another question, a company would like to secure network communication using SSL and TLS certificates. Which AWS service can it use? Okay, certificate manager. Great. So most people got it right. So certificate manager, you can be able to secure to access, I believe, all the different certificates, including SSL, TLS, and then that could help you secure your network communications. Okay, jumps on the top. So the next one, according to the shared responsibility model, who is responsible for patch management? Okay, someone got it right, yes. So with patch management, so you have to do the patching on the different softwares that you run on AWS, but then also the AWS will have to do their own patch management for the infrastructure. So both AWS and customer, they need to do the patch management depending on what they're running on AWS. Okay, so you want to centrally automate security checks across several AWS accounts. Which AWS service can you use? Okay, 2 people got it right, yes. So with Security Hub, you can be able to automate security checks across several accounts. So if you want to automate things, security related things, and across different accounts, you can use this Security Hub. So detective, as we said, it helps you get to know like the main root cause of an issue. So it wouldn't apply here with automation. Okay, jump down the top. So which of the following services is managed by AWS and used to manage encryption keys? Okay, yes, most people got it right. So with KMS, which is a key management service, it can help you to create, manage, and control cryptographic keys across your application and AWS services. This is what I just read from the AWS documentation. So you can be able to manage your encryption keys, and being it managed, that means you won't have much work or anything to many responsibilities. So, okay. So the next one, a company would like to automate security on EC2 instances to access security and vulnerabilities in those instances. Okay, we have inspector. Yes, 2 people got it right. So as I said, with inspector, you can be able to access security and vulnerabilities in your instances. So the next one, okay, gemstone on the top. So which of the following action does not require the root user? Okay, so access the billing dashboard, yes. So you can give someone permission to access the billing dashboard, and then they'll have to access it without requiring the root user. But then with all the other remaining ones, the root user is needed to perform all these actions. Yes, so the next one, gem still on the top. So according to the shared responsibility model, who is responsible for protecting hardware? Okay, that's nice. Yes, AWS is the one responsible for anything related to hardware. Okay. And then which AWS service only role is to safeguard running application from DDoS attacks? Okay, yes. Oh, wait. This is not correct. The correct answer is Shield. Yes, as I said, you want to prevent from DDoS attacks, so you use Shield. But then when you want to protect your web application, you can use WAF. So the correct answer is WAF. Sorry, Shield. Okay, jumps down the top. So the next one, which service is a threat detection service that continuously monitors for malicious activity? Okay, nice. Yes. So guard duty is the one responsible for threat detection service. So any malicious activity, it can alert you so that you can better secure your applications. Okay. So the next one, which of the following options is not a situation where you should contact the AWS abuse team? Okay, yes. So when you lose your MFA device, you have to then open another account because AWS can't help you on that. Or especially the AWS abuse team, it's where you report like malicious activities that happened on AWS services and affected you, maybe like DDoS attack from AWS owned IP addresses or spam from AWS owned IP addresses or AWS resources. So that's when you can contact the abuse team, AWS abuse team. Okay, Tanui, I hope that's how they pronounce your name. You should use Amazon Transcribe to turn text into live speech using deep learning. Yes, with Amazon Transcribe, it just turns speech to text instead of text to speech. So that's the trick here. We'll have another question on this. So a company would like to implement a chatbot that will convert speech to text and recognize the customer's intentions. Okay, yeah, so this would have been transcribed if they would have said only speech to text, but then now they've added that they want that this service recognize the customer's intentions. So it should have some natural language processing. So let's hope that's how they even pronounce this, is the correct one because it also have natural language processing, so it can be able to recognize customer's intention compared to transcribe. Okay, so the next one, which fully managed service can deliver highly accurate forecasts? Okay, yes. So as the name said, forecasts. So that's a service on AWS that can offer you or deliver highly accurate forecasts. Okay, turning on the first place. So another question, you would like to find objects, people, text, or scenes in images and videos. What AWS service should you use? voice recognition is the right one. So if you want to find objects, people, text, or scenes in an image or video, there's an AWS service called recognition that can help you do that. Yes. Okay, so the next one, a research team would like to group articles by topics using natural language processing. So which service would you use? Okay, people said we comprehend, other people said Lex. Okay, but now with Lex, it just converts speech to text and also can have some natural language processing. With comprehend, it can now group articles. So it can be able to, and I'm reading this from the AWS documentation. So AWS comprehend, derive, and understand variable insight from text within documents. So so that's the difference. Lex works with like speech to text, but then comprehend can be able to understand or find insights from texts within documents. And then here they're looking for a way to group articles by topics using natural language processing. So comprehend is the right one. I hope it makes sense. If anyone has any questions on this, maybe they can ask later. So a startup would like to rapidly create customized user experiences. Which AWS service can help? Okay, personalize. Yes, so personalize helps you to create a customized user experience for your applications. And it allows developers to quickly build and deploy curated recommendations and intelligent user segmentation at scale. So maybe if you want to create like a recommendation system in your application, you can use personalized, so you can have recommendation based on user experience. So the next one, a company would like to convert its documents into different languages with natural and accurate wording. Okay, translate, yes. So a company would like to, this is simple. They want just to convert their documents into different languages. So translate is the right one. And then remaining with 2 questions. A developer would like to build, train, and deploy a machine learning model quickly. Which service can they use? Great, yes, so SageMaker, as we've just learned. So the next one, which AWS service makes it easy to convert speech to text? Great, yes. So as I said, transcribe. is the service that can help you convert speech to text. So the last one, which of the following services is a document search service powered by machine learning? Great, yes, I see many people got it right. So Kendra is the right service to use when you're trying to do document search using machine learning. So that's it for the quiz, which was on security, compliance, and machine learning. So we have James on the third place, Hillary on the second place, and then Samuel on the first place, and then the runners up Abraham and someone else I didn't see. So congratulations, guys, and basically I hope this gives you an idea of how the cloud partition exam is. It's a simple exam. I mean, of course, you pass if at least you've revised, but the exam is mainly on the different services. Just they want to see if you know the different services that are in AWS. And then once you're done taking the cloud practitioner, you can now choose to either go with maybe the solution architect or developer, or there are different roles that you can choose to go for and then specialize on. So yeah, that's it. Are there any questions, clarifications, maybe something that Brian taught that you didn't understand? You can ask before we end the session for today. Any questions? Okay, I think there are no questions. So thank you so much, Brian. Maybe you can share your social media accounts so people can maybe reach out in case they have any questions or continue to be inspired by what you share.
Okay, let me share it right now.
Okay. Yeah. But thank you. I hope you're all on our WhatsApp group. I think also, Brian, maybe I can share the link with you and then you can join the WhatsApp group for. You're welcome, Braham. I think Abraham just joined us for the first time. So welcome. And I hope we'll see you again the next time. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you and wish you a great weekend all. Okay, and Brian has shared the LinkedIn page.
Thank you. Thank you for today. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, bye.